Do you know what's better than winning with a good deck? Stepping barefoot into a shoe filled with smooth peanut butter. Also, destroying somebody with a janky deck that has a 10% win rate and knowing how salty they'll be after losing with their fully blinged out tier 1 deck. While I'm not super excited about most of these new road decks coming in Twilight Masquerade on May 23rd, that doesn't mean you can't enjoy whacking off alone in your room. As with my best decks video, lists will be included in the description so you can easily copy and paste them into Pokemon TCG Live. But enough chat-ot. Let's begin with the deck that could have made a case for being in my best new decks video. Thwackey Dipplin Festival Grounds brings back the attacking twice in one turn mechanic we previously saw in Jumpluff. However, the synergy here can be a little confusing, so let's see if I can explain it goodly. With Thwackey, as long as your active Pokemon has the Festival Lead ability, it can search your deck for any card and put it into your hand. Unlike Pidgeot EX, which is limited to once per turn no matter how many Pidgeot are in play, Thwackey can do this once per Thwackey per turn. There's only 3 Pokemon with the Festival Lead ability, Goldeen, Swirlix, and Dipplin is by far the best partner for Thwackey. For a single grass energy, Dipplin deals 20 damage for each of your bench Pokemon. It's fairly weak on its own, topping out at just 100 damage with 5 bench Pokemon, but the Festival Lead ability is what makes it playable. So long as the Festival Grounds Stadium is in play, it can attack twice per turn. And if the first attack KOs a Pokemon, your opponent has to promote a new Pokemon and you can attack again. Basically, for the combo to work, you put a Dipplin in the active spot, use Thwackey's ability to get Festival Grounds, then attack twice with Do the Wave. Here's one of the top performing lists from Japan. The reason I chose this is that it should give you a chance to beat Charizard EX, Chien-Pao EX, and, well, probably not Dragapult EX, but at least it tries. You go for full 4/4 lines of Dipplin and Thwackey, 4 Festival Grounds, a copy of TM Evolution with 3 Arven to potentially have a couple of Thwackey in play at the start of turn 2, and 2 copies of Rabsca to maybe not lose against Dragapult. There's a few interesting things to cover with Dipplin. Since it can attack twice, attaching a tool like Maximum Belt, Defiance Band, or Vitality Band is crucial to taking big KOs. Maximum Belt allows you to deal up to 300 damage to a single Pokemon EX like Pidgeot EX. Defiance Band allows you to do 260 damage to one-shot Pokemon like Raging Butt and Blood Moon Ursaluna, while Vitality Band allows you to do 220 damage in one-shot Arceus V, Giratina V, and Chien-Pao EX. And since Dipplin is a grass type, you can one-shot Roaring Moon through weakness, though you will always have to two-shot a Charizard EX, unless you hit the nuts. If you attach a Maximum Belt to Dipplin and play Kieran, which boosts the damage you deal to V and EX Pokemon by 30, you can one-shot a Charizard EX with your first Do the Wave. And if they promote another Charizard EX, you can one-shot that one too right after. Obviously they'd be crazy to do that, but Kieran combo with Maximum Belt offers up the chance to deal 180 damage twice, which can't be overlooked. In other decks, this combo might be impossible, but when you can Thwackey up to 4 times per turn, it is possible. Elsewhere, Bug Catching Set is going to be extremely important. The deck only runs grass Pokemon as well as just 6 grass energy. Bug Catching Set allows you to look at the top 7 cards of your deck and grab any 2 in combination of grass Pokemon and grass energy. And one of those very important grass Pokemon is Rabsca. Removing the need for Manaphy or Jirachi, Rabsca blocks all damage and effects of attacks done to your bench Pokemon. So Radiant Greninja's Moonlight Shuriken is stopped, same with the damage counter spreads of Dragapult EX and Sableye. And as an added bonus, Rabsca also stops the effects of TMD Evolution on your bench Pokemon. Looking at other lists inclusions, Lana's Aid does seem good. It just puts a couple of Pokemon and an energy directly from your discard pile back into your hand. And Unfair Stamp could be a thing. Your opponent is going to be taking such easy knockouts, and the stamp is easily searchable with Thwackey, that putting them to 2 cards early could buy you some extra time. I also saw several lists include a copy of Goldeen. Not for the attack, but because it's a basic that has the Festival Lead ability. So if you're struggling to get a Dipplin, you can just promote Goldeen and have access to Thwackey's ability, though you will need a rescue board to retreat it. There's also Rillaboom. I don't recommend it, but you can chuck a copy in there and have a potentially annoying Pokemon for a turn. Whichever way you decide to play Thwackey Dipplin, it can definitely win some games in Standard, just don't be surprised if you get absolutely obliterated by Dragapult with a copy of Canceling Cologian. The fact that this fell to the Rogue Decks video goes to show you just how dominant Dragapult EX is going to be with Twilight Masquerade. Iron Thorns EX shuts off all Rulebox Pokemon abilities except for future Pokemon as long as it's in the active spot, which can be devastating to decks like Lugia V-Star, Gardevoir EX, and even Charizard EX. But then stupid Dragapult came out, not having a single ability, and it ruined the party. Still, if an ability-heavy rulebox deck isn't playing Fluttermane or Klefki, they're gonna have a bad time. After looking through about 30 different Japanese City League tournaments, I found 2 Iron Thorns decks that made the top 16, and the Future Box decks I saw didn't play it at all, opting to stick with the tried and true Iron Hands EX strategy. But this was the highest performing recent list, finishing in 4th. It does away with the double turbo energy and focuses solely on lightning energy and electric generator. Since Generator only accelerates the bench Pokemon, there's also a copy of Splup Ditto, which can be placed in the active and turn into an Iron Thorns EX at any time on turn 1. There's honestly nothing too crazy here. Iron Thorns EX shuts off Rulebox Pokemon abilities when it's in the active. Your strategy against something like Charizard is to Airy or de-evolution them out of rare candy, and since they need to manually attach their fire energy, you have to use Crushing Hammer to discard it. Lugia V-Star and Gardevoir EX auto-lose to Iron Thorns if they aren't running Fluttermane or Klefki. Gardevoir has begun using Fluttermane regularly, and for Dragapult, you'll have to wisely use your Penny and scoop up Cyclone to deny prize cards. While that first list was all about Electric Generator, running them out of resources, and attacking for 140 without any item-based Gust cards, this second list has 2 Counter Catcher and a Prime Catcher, meaning you can lean more heavily into the 4 copies of Judge and 4 copies of Airy. But no matter how strong your Iron Thorns list may be, it's going to struggle against both Dragapult and Greninja when it comes to new decks. And since it doesn't shut off Iron Crown EX, the Future Box matchup isn't great either. And if those Lugia or Gardevoir decks do run Fluttermane, you just kinda lose against them as well. So yeah, I was excited for Iron Thorns a month ago, now not so much. I know I included Teal Masked Ogerpon EX in my previous video, but I wanted to give it the spotlight again. That's because it's one of the very few ways you can make Sinistcha EX actually work. Yes, you heard that right, people in Japan have somehow won games with Sinistcha EX. I'm as flabbergasted as you. Part of the reason why Sinistcha EX has been successful is the baby Sinistcha. For a single grass energy, you can discard up to 3 basic grass energy from your Pokemon in play and deal 70 damage for each. While it caps out at 210, that's an easy 210 damage on a single prize stage 1 for a single energy, with your Ogerpon accelerate energy from hand to itself while also drawing you cards. Then once you have a lot of grass energy in the discard pile, you bring in Big Daddy Sinistcha EX. For each grass energy in your discard pile, you put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon, then shuffle that energy back into your deck. Manaphy can't stop the attack, neither can Jirachi. Rabsca is their only line of defense, but even then you can just choose to damage their active instead of a bench Pokemon. Here's what a Sinistcha Ogerpon list looks like. You go for a full 4 Ogerpon with 3 Poltergeist, 2 Sinistcha, and 1 Sinistcha EX. 4 Ogerpon means you can put up to 4 energy into play each turn while also drawing 4 cards. Discarding energy isn't a bad thing here, so feel free to use it as Ultra Ball and Earthen Vessel fodder while also getting rid of it with Research and Carmine. Remember, if you have all 14 grass energy in the discard pile, you can put 280 damage worth of damage counters wherever you want with the EX. Another fun combo involves Weirdeer V. Accelerate all of your energy into play with Ogerpon's ability, then switch Weirdeer into the active, putting as much energy as you can directly onto it. Not only will you deal 40 damage for each energy attached to Weirdeer, but when it's knocked out, all that energy gets sent to the discard pile, thus powering up Sinistcha EX. As for some of those new cards in this list, Carmine is great, allowing you to play a discard and draw 5 even on turn 1. And later in the game, it can put more grass energy in the discard pile. Bug Catching Set is awesome, searching the top 7 cards of your deck and giving you any 2 in combination of grass Pokemon and grass energy. And Unfair Stamp punishes your opponent for taking a knockout, putting them down to just 2 cards while you get 5, and can still play a supporter. While this will have a good Charizard EX matchup, provided they don't have a lot of fire attackers, I am a little worried about Dragapult. The Poltergeist options are terrible. The one you play has just 30 hit points. Sure, it has a built-in bench barrier ability for something like Radiant Greninja, but Dragapult EX can knock out 2 at once. I guess that's why this is a rogue deck and not a good deck. Other options I saw from Japanese lists include swapping your A-Spec to Prime Catcher or Hero's Cape. All of your attackers are fairly weak, so increasing their hit points with Hero's Cape could be a good idea, which is also where Kricketune comes in. Once it's in play, all of your grass Pokemon get an extra 40 hit points, meaning your Poltergeist can survive Dragapult EX's Phantom Dive pings. And Kieran is also a card I'd recommend, as it allows the baby Sinistcha to go from 210 to 240. Perfect for one-shotting Arceus V, Giratina V, Chien-Pao EX, and Raging Bolt EX. If Ogerpon isn't your cup of tea, there's a few other wacky ways to play Sinistcha, all focusing on the EX. Pair it with Golden Go EX, discard all of your grass energy with its attack, and then use Sinistcha to snipe someone on the bench while also shuffling that energy back into your deck. Or with Meowscarada EX, you can discard a grass energy from your hand to put 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's bench Pokemon using the Upright Kitty Cat's ability. Then either attack with Meowscarada for 220 if their active is damaged, or ping with Sinistcha and put that energy back into your deck. Or if you want to play it like a terrible Volcarona V deck, run Revavroom to discard energy from hand, Grant to discard more energy from hand, and Explorer's Guidance and Rhyfort to discard energy from your deck. The Golden Go build will probably be the best of the 3, but more so because of Golden Go and not Sinistcha. Did you honestly think I was going to leave Dolphin Man off this list? The subject of a couple confusing rulings, Palafin EX is a 340 hit point stage 1 that deals 250 damage for a single energy, though getting it into play requires some effort. Even if your opponent has a Fluttermane in the active, Palafin EX can only be put into play with Palafin's 0 to Hero ability. In order to activate Palafin's ability, you have to move Palafin from the active spot to the bench. Switch card works, same with the skateboard and manually retreating. When you do this, you can search your deck for a Palafin EX. The Finizen underneath Palafin remains in play while you swap the Palafin with the Palafin EX. Like I said, confusing. But once Palafin EX is in play, it's a beast, unless they're playing a lightning deck, then it's whatever the opposite of a beast is. Bro, I guess? Here's the only Palafin EX list I could find that finished in the top 10 of a Japanese tournament. Since Lost Box already plays a bunch of Switch cards, that was the choice here, featuring 4 Switch, 4 Jet Energy, and 1 Switch card. Jet Energy might seem strange, but the combo here is that you have Palafin in the active, Jet Energy up a Comfey, then Mirage Data Water Energy onto Palafin EX and hard retreat the Comfey if there's no Switch card. This build also opens up the possibility of using Radiant Greninja's Moonlight Shuriken to clean up any missed knockouts with Palafin, or you can use the 1 copy of Sableye to do the same thing. What I find interesting about this list is that it runs a copy of Blood Moon Ursaluna EX. If you compare the two, Ursaluna is not that far off Palafin EX's power level, except you don't have to jump through multiple Hoopas. It's just a high HP basic with a 240 damage attack that gets cheaper the more prizes your opponent takes. But this video isn't about good decks, damn it. This video is about going sicko mode. Another list I saw used Dunsparce. Not only can it draw cards, but when you move your Palafin to the bench, you can promote Dunsparce, which shuffles itself back into your deck, removing the need for extra switches. It also plays a 1/1 line of the new Milotic, as its ability prevents your opponent from putting their Pokemon or any attached cards back into their hand. Perfect for stopping Penny, Stoop Up Cyclone, and Charon's Care plays. Or if you hate consistency and getting Pokemon into play, pair it with Greninja EX and Pidgeot EX. Once you do get your stage 2s up and running though, you're doing 170 damage for a single energy with Greninja, then searching your deck for any card after already searching your deck for any card with Pidgeot. But one of the major issues that could present itself with Palafin EX is that it has to be in your deck for Palafin's ability to really work. So if you prize one EX and the other is in your hand, well, sucks to be you, I guess. With that in mind, why not remove all non-Dolphin attackers and just go for a full Palafin list? Triple barrel action keeps you drawing cards, while 4 switch and a rescue board should be enough to get Palafin EX into play. There's also a copy of the new Abra, which shuffles itself into your deck if it's in the active spot, acting as this version's version of the Dunsparce. And the other Palafin can deal 130 damage for a single energy. And don't forget that there's a spreading Palafin you could throw in the deck in case you come up short on some KOs. As for the Finizen, Dragapult EX's existence means you want to lean hard on the new 70 hit point one, as it survives Phantom Dive pings and is searchable with Buddy-Buddy Poffin. You could always include a single copy of the Valiant Evolution one, it just seems a little risky. So yes, Palafin EX can be a thing, I just doubt it will ever be more than a rogue deck, which feels crazy to say about a 340 hit point stage 1 that deals 250 damage for 1 energy. And finally, we have Conkeldurr. There were a few new Pokemon I could have included in the 5th spot, including Luxray EX and Magcargo EX. I'm sure I'll play them on stream, lose every game, then never touch them again. But I've been super intrigued by Conkeldurr ever since it was first revealed. If it's affected by a special condition, it can deal 250 damage for free, which means we have a brand new 0 energy deck, baby! And thanks to the Brute Bond and Ancient Booster combo, getting that special condition on Conkeldurr is easier than catching a Caterpie in Viridian Forest. While there's a lot to be excited about here, I've only ever seen a single list do anything in Japan, this one. There's a lot of straightforward things here. Since there's no energy, the technical machines are out, which means you have to rely on Rare Candy and a 414 line. There's also 3 Brute Bonnet and 4 Ancient Booster to increase your chances of poisoning both active Pokemon every single turn, with a Radiant Sneasler boosting the poison damage to your opponent's active by 20. Now here's where I disagree a bit. Yes, I get that Pidgeot EX is a great card, but having 2 separate Pokemon lines that rely on rare candy seems far too risky. I would choose Bibarel instead, or maybe throw in a Wacky Thwackey combo. But again, these are road decks. They're not meant to be competitive, they're meant to be fun. Though I guess with the Pidgeot inclusion, that Japanese player actually tried to win regularly, which goes against everything road decks stand for. Anyways, with Conkeldurr, the attack does 250 damage at its base for 0 energy. With the poison damage Brute Bonnet and Sneasler provide, that's effectively 280. Add in 30 damage from Kieran, and you can reach 310. But you don't have to stop there. Chuck a Defiance Band or Maximum Belt on Conkeldurr, now you're topping 340 damage, enough to deal with every major threat out there. Obviously, this deck will be a bit slow, and the Pidgeot version basically has to play Kieran over something like Grant because there's no supplementary card draw, but think of the possibilities, people! 340 damage for free! What's better than that? Well, lots of things, but it's pretty close. And that was 5 road/sleeper decks you can try when Twilight Masquerade launches on Thursday, May 23rd in Pokemon TCG Live. Lists are in the description, and feel free to reveal any crazy decks you're cooking up for the new set in the comments below.